Hey, mate.
Well, you hardcores were joined by Rico, the disappearing man.
How you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Rico?
Yeah, good. Did you enjoy the game?
Listen, Man City are supposed to be creme de la creme, aren't they? They won't treble, right? We keep comparing them to Man United from '99. They won't treble, and they're at home and they're sat back, and they don't want to go for it. What is that? What is that?
Well, I thought Liverpool sat back, but we were watching the
Really?
same game. But yeah, I thought it was an entertaining game, but City just couldn't get, they had good chances. Liverpool took their one good chance, they had a few more, but yeah, here we are.
Old goalie's done his hamstring and his ankle, hasn't he?
I saw it looked awful at the end. Like I was thinking that corner might be dangerous.
I've noticed what City do, and I've just been somebody was just texting me earlier, and they were saying that they're like, if they can't play through you, they're looking for corners and free kicks and that because
Yeah.
to get it up in air, aren't they? And they're like flattening goalkeepers and stuff like that and getting away with it, aren't they? Mainly because it was a
Yeah.
tight game and it's the top two going at it. I think the referees and the officials bottled it, didn't they, on a couple of decisions? Do you think?
Well, it's VAR. They just kick everything up to VAR, don't they? They don't want to make decisions anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
They're worried
you're
about
right. Do you think VAR's been a disaster, Rico?
I don't think VAR is bad, but the implementation of it's terrible. Like somebody scores a goal and then we wait to celebrate for 5 minutes when somebody's checking it. That's not really football, is it? But I think just in general, the referees have now become so afraid of making a mistake that they just let VAR decide everything, don't they?
Well, they should because they're on good money, aren't they? These refs, so they don't want to lose the
Yeah, I
little
mean,
gig.
also, if you're not performing well, you end up refing the Championship or League One. So you
Well,
better just
that's
not make
good.
mistakes.
That's what they need to do with boxing, don't they?
Well, they do. Yeah, they do. But, it's run by the Premier League versus the board.
Okay, I've got a few things jotted down here. I want to go through. I've tried to be a bit more planned today. Do you think Sugar Hills had a bit of a free ride over that performance against Ngannou? I just wanted your opinion on that, Rico. Because there were
I
Coley
mean,
in here as well, a Coley.
yeah, I think, I mean, look, a trainer can't make somebody train properly, right? It's up to the fighter. But if your fighter's not training properly, then, you know, you shouldn't be training that fighter and you lay in the camp, do the things. It feels more like he's there to be in the camp and there to be a cheerleader rather than actually training Tyson. But, you're making good money off training Tyson. So I think they probably overlooked Ngannou, and if they fought again, Ngannou would probably lose that fight. But I think Sugar Hill and the training camp in itself probably didn't go well, and nothing was really done in the training camp. So I think the problem is actually Tyson's never, until aside from when Peter Fury was there, he's always had yes men around him, and Sugar Hill's just another yes man.
Yeah, which brings me to trainers putting guys in the ring in big fights, knowing that they're going to get a nice tickle off it. You know what I mean? But I
Yeah,
know not every trainer's on 10%, are they? Not every single one of them. Not
yeah,
all Brock who paid McCracken all the way through 10%. But what I want to make is, for example, well, Joe McAnally, right? He put Liam
yeah.
Smith in that fight, didn't he? Now, for me personally, the blame lies with him because afterwards they're all doing the interviews and they're going on about the weight and this and that. And I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute. Why didn't you pull the guy out? We're talking about a pay-per-view fight here, aren't we? Why go through with it? Was it Liam Smith's decision? Was that Joe's decision? Because as far as I'm concerned, if my trainer was saying, yeah, you'll be all right, blah, blah, and I went in the ring like that and I lost, I'd be like, collect your cards. No, that one, get gone. What do you think to that, Rico?
I think in boxing, there's just too many people involved. So you have a manager that has one interest, you have a trainer that has another interest, and then you have a fighter who has his own motivations, and that could be because it's good for his career, but also they want to make money before Christmas, or they want to make money to pay off this and this bill. So I just don't think there's anybody it should be the manager's job to look after a trainer. To look after the fighter. And there's only very few managers that do that, right? Because everybody's getting paid, so there's massive conflicts of interest. If a trainer weren't getting paid unless they fighter want to fight, I'm not saying that. I don't think that would be a fair thing. Trainers would be a lot more selective on. They'd be a lot more selective on whether they put their guy in the ring, right?
Yeah.
But like they get paid the same regardless, right? Trainers, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I've got a question for you. Do you think it would help if your trainer had to be your manager as well?
Yes.
Because then you can't pick the fights where the value of the fighter goes down.
Listen, I used to battle all the time with Dennis over this, right? The fighter, really, he only sees his trainer every day. He only sees his trainer every day. Usually between the manager or promoter, somebody like Dennis, and the trainer, there's usually somebody in the middle. Obviously, I'd like to think that I were the middle guy for certain things with other people when Dennis were fighting, but there has to be a buffer, don't there? Because you can't always get to these promoters. The phones are going left, right, and centre. You know what Dennis's phone's like? He ain't got a minute to his centre all day. So I personally think that a fighter, he only listens to his trainer and he only trusts his trainer. A trainer should be the manager, and he's your mum, he's your dad, he's your probation officer, parole officer, social worker, whatever, your big brother. He's the guy that you see every single day. He's the guy you confide in. Listen to your trainer. There shouldn't be another manager because it's another ponce. They should have a trainer, work out what you're going to give him. If you want to give him a bit extra for matching your fights, fair enough. But what exactly is a manager's role? They don't do anything. They just turn up at shows and collect the money. They don't do no. They make a few phone calls and that's it. The trainer does everything. Managers, piss off. Trainer does everything. He's more or less the manager. So if there's somebody else, I have a problem with that because I'd say, oh, he's a ponce, he's a ponce. But you can't be saying that. Yeah, but it looks to me like he's looking at it from me, going into something I've never been involved with. I'm like, well, what's his role, Dennis? Well, what does he do? What does he do? Well, this is how it is. I say it's poncing. Trainer's doing all donkey work, all running about. He's got fighter on phone all night. You know, if a fighter's car doesn't start, he rings the fucking trainer. You don't ring AA. They're like your mum and dad. So managers, piss off. You don't need managers. And the trainer does everything.
By the other hand, in smaller hall, the manager's often the promoter as well, right? So the manager puts on the shows.
Yeah, it just winds me up.
I think it's more complicated. It really depends on the manager. If the manager's a good manager, but there's a lot of bad managers in boxing, and that's the problem. There's a lot of managers that don't do much.
Right. I don't like to dig people out, but let's just look at it like this. Sam Jones, you little weasel. You don't train fighters. You're a ponce. You ponce off people, you little ponce. That's what you do. You had Joe Joyce there. Why didn't you push on for WBO? Or Adam Morley, or whoever it were, advising Joe Joyce, because they're all plastic book now, aren't they? Now that it's all over for Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce, all he had to do was put a legal letter in, like Hennessy did, right, for Howard Eastman. Put that legal letter in and sit back. Take legal action. They're all going to do it, but they never do it, do they? Dylan White didn't do it. They talk shit. Put your legal letter in. Why didn't they do that for Joyce? Why, Rico? Why? Where is he now? Don't worry, Sam. We're going to look after all your other fighters, you little weasel.
Well, I think that's the point, right? Managers at a certain level end up having so many fighters where they have a conflict of interest with lots of, if I'm going to be, calling the WBO out, then it's not going to be good for this fighter, but this fighter has more money than this or will make me more money in the long term. So I think managers have often conflicts of interest. I don't think less so small hall guys, but more like,
When you get to decent-ish money, championship level, British upwards, this is where they all turn into dogs. Not worth a rub, not worth a cup of cold piss. So that's my opinion on that, managers. Piss off, leave it to the trainers. Fighters, only listen to your trainer. All these other ponces, get rid of them. You can manage yourself after 3 years from going pro. Get rid of these ponces, your Charlie Simses, your Sam Joneses. Ponces, woodpeckers. Peck, 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 peck. Pecking at you. Sorry about that, Rico. I lose my head when my teams just drew. We could have nicked it 3-1, you know. No, we can't. Played crap. Nah. Do you think Big John Fury's lost plot, Rico, at the moment? What's happening with him? Is he's going a bit
I mean,
here in Manchester.
he's bipolar. Like he's one day he's there, one day he's there, the hardest man ever, calling everybody out, wanting to fight Mike Tyson. The next day he's talking about mental health and how he's feeling down. I don't know. I mean, if you remove if you would have never had Big John Fury along that Tyson and Tommy Fury ride, do you think they would be where they are now, better or worse? Or, you know, I don't think Big John Fury adds anything. I think he probably takes away, if anything.
Well, he's got them all shaking now because they were all like, how can we have him at the Wembley presser? Oh my God.
Well, that's the problem, right?
Hey?
That's the problem. Like, I bet he doesn't behave like that in Saudi Arabia, I'll tell you that.
Well, I saw that interview that Dominic Negus did, and I quite like Dominic Negus, and he said apparently they had free security on him all the time. It was like babysitting all week. Did you see it, son?
Yeah.
All week. They were like, oh my God, what next?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
I heard a story of somebody who was out there. I'm not going to say his name, but I'll tell you later. They were all sat there, all having a coffee and everything. At next minute, oh, can you go sort so and so? Why? John Fury's just walking around with no top on, and he's going like that. He was going like that through this lobby, and he had no top on. And they're like, "Oh, can you?" We're just sat down to have a cup. Well, John Fury's, can you go sort? They didn't know what we were going to do. So I got the impression that when it come to Usyk Fury thing, they were like, you know what, he's got to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've heard that he's dug his son in a hole. That's all I've heard. That's all I'm going to say. And it's a shame really because Spencer Brown's a pretty organised guy, and it's probably hindered him trying to get on. You know, him having him in tow, but it's the fighter's dad, isn't it? What can they do?
Yeah. I think John Fury has become a character of himself, right? So he's like he's playing the John Fury character in real life.
Yeah. DAZN game bean slots, I've heard on the quiet. What do you think?
You mean commentating?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's you know,
he knows where all bodies are buried, doesn't he, from when he were at Sky?
Well, maybe even that, but also I think there's probably Eddie's got some sympathy towards him, right? He's probably been backing Eddie because he also went off the rails for him about when Eddie left, right?
Listen, they want to keep being sweet, don't they, in case he talks at fucking News at World or something. Who's going to train Tommy Fumbles if Big John's mayor of Manchester, though?
I don't know. I mean, maybe Sugar Hill. Like, does it matter really? He's fighting against not great opponents, right?
Warren versus Catterall. Is it intense beef or laughing luncheon meat?
I think it's laughing luncheon meat. But who cares about Jack Catterall?
No, I'm on Warren, Adam Catterall. Frank Warren.
Adam Catterall. Oh, yeah, TalkSport guy. You know, Adam Catterall does his podcast, right? He's really chummy with everybody. He just tries to pretend. Occasionally, he tries to make he tries to make controversy, but he's not that kind of guy where he really wants to upset anybody. He doesn't really do much or say much interesting stuff, does he? He's got a big following, but when has he ever put his neck out the line, or when has he really ever called anybody out in boxing? It's always sort of touching on the edges of things, but not really going into it.
I quite like Adam Catterall, but I felt that if that would have been me, I wouldn't have been able to think, well, what about my job and all that? I would have said, listen here, you bricktop, your main problem here, you, and you have been years. And I would have reeled it all off. It would have all spew would have come out. But he's
not that kind of guy. He's always a bit like, he's not very, he's a bit standoffish. He's not like confrontational, is he?
But his points have been good that he's fetched up Adam Cattrall. It's just that nobody wants to push it further. It's a bit like Andy McCart, you know, the jock
Yeah.
who works for
Yeah.
IFL. He's just had Eddie Hearn on. I've just watched it now after the City game, and I thought, oh, he's got Eddie here. He's got him on hook here about this rematch clause. He asked Eddie, and Eddie gave him 7-minute answer to it.
Yeah, yeah. Eddie
and then
does that.
McCart went, oh, right. And that were it. He didn't say, here, come on, Eddie. This Wilder fight, it's getting a bit further and further away. You're putting rematch clauses in and this and that, because I've heard it's if it's a draw or if it's a win for Walling, they've got to do a rematch. So that means that could happen, and then it's further and further away, innit?
I don't think
Why aren't they pushing it? Hey?
I don't think they want to fight because, I mean, Wilder's the only one trying to keep the money in the fight, right? Because he was being complimentary about Joshua. He was, if they do fight, Joshua gets starched by Wilder, then what's left for Anthony Joshua in boxing?
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. But if Wilder beats him, if this whatever it's called, Otto Wallin or what, this is he German or Swedish?
No, he's Swedish.
Swedish. He's one of your lot, is he? Is that over your way?
Neighborhood, but yeah, neighboring country.
Or next,
pardon? Next door, like next country.
Next country, yeah, kind of thing. How far are you from Norway? Where you're from, Rico?
I mean, where I'm from is the south, but if you drive up to Lapland, you can go to Sweden and Norway. It's all connected.
That's Father Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah. That's
is that a proper place?
Yeah, it's Northern Finland.
Oh,
that's
I thought
Lapland.
It was some invented name, so is that a real place?
No, it's Northern Finland. It's
where is that Lapland is?
Yeah, that's where they're from.
I didn't know that. I thought that was just like some place that kids talk about that didn't, like.
No, it's a real place. It's in Northern Finland. You've got like Father Christmas Land there.
I watched a film with kids a month ago, some at Madagascar or something. Is that a real place?
Yeah, Madagascar's a real island. It's just off the coast of Africa.
You see what it is, you see, Rico. I'm locked in, aren't I, in a square 15-mile, aren't I? South Yorkshire.
Yeah, but if it's South Yorkshire, the way you talk about South Yorkshire, you always talk to me and reel off these places, like, the place down the road. I'm
to Nottingham, mate. Going to Nottingham's like going abroad. Do you need a passport? We're going to Nottingham. Here, look, Reggie, a tree. Bridge.
Yeah, so Wallin, I mean, look, I think Joshua wins that fight, right?
Yeah, but what if Wallin wins?
Well, then there's a great
rematch. Rico. Do we want to see it, though?
No, I mean, if Wallin wins, then Joshua might as well retire.
Yeah, so why put a rematch in then?
Yeah, I mean, Wallin's no better than, say, when Joshua fought against Takam or Pulev. That's the level of guy Wallin is, I think. So if Joshua
too many of them in there on his record.
Yeah, if Joshua can't beat that guy now, then what's the point of continuing? Because then you sort of at that gatekeeper level.
Let me just show you something here, Rico. I'm a stats man. If I'd have been born round about now, I'd be told I'd be autistic. Let me just tell you this. Fury, 4 wins of a world champions. I know I bang on about it, but statistics rule the world. Fury, 4 wins of a world champions. Joshua, 5. Wilder, 2. That's Stubborn twice, by the way. Usyk, 8. But Usyk's the only one out of them 4 that's never fought anybody with a losing record. They've all had good records from debut. The other 3 have been spoon-fed all the careers. I mean, Wilder, Fury, and Joshua. And I mean, fucking spoon-fed. Look at Usyk, beat 8 champions in 21 fights. He ain't messing. He don't waste training camps, does he?
No, he went to the World Boxing Super Series, right? And he, I think he must have been 4 or 5-0 at that stage. And he went to the World Boxing Super Series, cleaned up the cruiserweight division, which at the time was like one of the most even divisions in boxing, right? You had Gassiev.
A bit more than 5-0. I think he'd had a few more than that, but I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, but you had Gassiev, you had that Cuban guy Dorticos, you had all these guys that are like good level fighters. Yeah. Usyk, and also now he's gone to heavyweight and he's fighting, proper heavyweights. He's giving away all of his advantage.
Twice, Dunderbar. I mean, look at these here. Fury's best wins, we know Wilder twice, Cunningham a cruiserweight, and Old Man Vlad. Then we've got Joshua, Charlie Martin, Vladimir, Povetkin, Andy Ruiz, and Parker. There's a story we see every single one of them. Joshua Steve, go on.
Parker's a poor heavyweight. We've seen that over the years, right? Andy Ruiz, not good heavyweight, beat Joshua. That's why he's a world champion. Pulev is a guy that basically was given the belt.
No, Pulev didn't win a world title. Sorry, is it Povetkin? Sorry, Povetkin.
Povetkin's a guy that got
regular. It was 5 years since he'd had it.
Yeah, but you know, Povetkin. Remember when Wilder was meant to go to Russia and fight against him, and that got called off. But Povetkin was a guy that he made a lot of money for the sanctioning bodies. He was fighting in Russia. This is when Russia weren't in the war with Ukraine, and there's a lot of money floating around, and the money was just keeping a Russian champion, right? But everybody knew Povetkin's not an elite heavyweight.
Yeah. What about Charlie Martin?
I mean, was it that fight against what's the guy called? The Ukrainian guy. Remember he fought against that Ukrainian guy. The Ukrainian guy did his ankle or something, and that's how he won. That's how he won the world title, right? And essentially, what Eddie and Joshua did is they bought the title off him. They're going to the UK, paid him career money, life-changing money, and took the belt off him. And he was never, you know, what you've seen subsequently from his fights is that he's never been even on that fringe world title level. Yeah.
And then Old Man Vlad pushing 42. So Joshua's CV, out of them 5 supposedly great wins, there's more holes in them than Biggie Smalls as Cadillac has played, isn't there?
Yeah. But you know what? That's boxing, unfortunately. And I think that's the problem has always been with boxing, that we don't see the best fight against the best. So we could end up, this generation of heavyweights could end up, and it looks more and more likely as the years pass on, that, you know, Wilder never ends up fighting Joshua. Joshua never ends up fighting Fury. You know, they only have one sort of common opponent. So Usyk, if Usyk and Fury end up fighting, then Fury's fought against Usyk and Wilder, whereas Joshua would have only fought against Usyk.
Yeah.
And Wilder only against Fury.
Mm-hmm. I've got a question here from Catherine in Northamptonshire, Kettering. Porky, I like bald men. I thought when I first seen it, I was like, oh God. But can you explain to me why Flex Ingle and Captain Chaos, that's John Fury and Dominic Ingle, can you explain to me why we never see them with a woman? We'll leave that for everybody else to work out, won't we? We're not saying Flex and old big John Fury are batting for other side.
Fury's too hard of a man. I don't think any woman can tame such a hard man.
They won't be able to handle John Fury. Could you imagine? After John Fury's finished with a woman, they must be trembling on the floor like that. Okay, is Bricktop flexing his muscles at the moment regarding Saudi and whatnot? And you know, because it looks to me like Eddie's playing second fiddle now, doesn't it? Is yes, Frank, no, Frank, and I'm looking at all these interviews, and when have we ever seen Eddie come out with? Do you know what? I agree with Frank. We've never ever seen it. He's definitely on the back foot, and all I'm hearing is slurp, 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 gobble, 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 gobble. That's all I can hear at the moment. And I think it's pretty embarrassing after everything that's gone on in the past, because we all know how they've tried to destroy each other over years, haven't they? Behind the scenes, doing really, really dirty, underhand, low things and now all of a sudden I'm seeing blowjobs from them both as well. They're both as bad as each other. Bricktop should have said, "There's no slots for you. Piss off." That's what Eddie would have done, eh?
I don't think there's anybody. Bricktop's probably like looking at the matches, but I think the Saudis want the best fights there.
They need each other, don't they?
Well, the Saudis are running boxing. It's not the case is not anymore. Nobody can see. The thing is, if anybody's too much trouble, the Saudis just will kick them out. So everybody's playing nice because they know where the money is, right? It's not Bricktop's choices, and if you know this for a fact. If Bricktop had the opportunity not to have any of Eddie's fighters on, he wouldn't have done, because how boxing works is he'd rather keep the money in a stable. The Saudis are probably saying, we want these good fights. Let's make them, let's get the best fighters on the card that we can get and put them in fights that people would be relatively interested in what's possible, based on what's possible. So I imagine there isn't one person making all the choices. There might be like a lead promoter, but at the end of the day, it's not for Frank to say that I don't want any matchroom fighters. Because somebody said, hey, we want Joshua
Yeah.
here.
Sky Sports, Ben Shalom. He looks like he's heading for Skid Row. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of promise initially with a proposition, but they haven't really managed to progress some of the guys and women they have in their stable. So it's sort of grounded to a standstill. And also, if you think about the guys they poached from Matchroom, none of them have hit new heights. So it felt like, think about someone like Buatsi. I mean, Matchroom never really did anything with Buatsi, and then he goes on to Sky and they have a big song and dance about it. So I think there's probably a reason why he ended up leaving Matchroom, and that reason's probably to do with Matchroom weren't super keen on him and vice versa.
Yeah. I'm just going to give this shout out. I like to mention this. All you people who keep saying to me, "Oh, Porky, how come Bricktop how come he stopped working with Sky Sports?" Go and watch Nicky Cook versus Ricky Burns. Watch that, and that were Frank Warren's final lot at Sky. Watch that fight, Nicky Cook versus Ricky Burns, and watch the interviews after, and go and look at box record, Nicky Cook's record, and work it out for yourself. All right, Nicky Cook versus Ricky Burns. Go and watch it. It's only a minute long. You've seen that, haven't you, Rico? I take it.
Yeah, I have.
That's what buried him, isn't it? Joe G's in Saudi. He's done well to get out there.
Yeah.
He's stable. Sean Yackersley, Clark Smith, Mike Talent, all them. Josh Holmes has got a good little stable. He's sort of like gone about his business quietly the last couple of years since he fell out with Eddie, hasn't he, Joe? He's now in a really strong position, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think it's good, and I think the Saudis realise otherwise, they realise that unless they can grow their own fighters and sort of build them in Saudi Arabia, even if it's foreign fighters, a bit like what they do with football, they realise that people come there, they'll take the money and they'll go and put on their own shows. So I think imagine what Joe G's there is to do is to improve the standard of boxing and also bring fighters to train over there, because otherwise, we've seen him with Eddie, right? He dips in and out of Saudi. When the money's there, he comes and he takes the money and then he goes away. So I think it's a good move for Joe G. He'll have good facilities there. I think he can probably end up, I can see a lot of fighters deciding that, talented fighters that want to go and train out there with Joe G. He's a good trainer. We all know that. One of the best trainers this country has ever produced. So it makes sense to set up somewhere and start from scratch, but also have the backing of Saudi Arabia.
I think it's good because if there's some quality control out there, I don't know full ins and outs of it. If somebody from the Saudi lot's saying, "Joe, what do you think to these fights here? What do you think to these?" And I can imagine Joe saying, "Yeah, that's good, that's bad." I can imagine being something like that, or he shouldn't be in with him, and I think that's what it needs, because too many of these people, these pen pushers at these TV companies and platforms, they have a couple of good shows and that, and I think it's easy. And what happens then, once this promoter gets settled, it all starts going other way. They start tail starts wagging dog. I've seen it before. I've seen Big Ron like get TV slots and Fight Zone and Free Sports, and I thought, that's a good show. And then the next one isn't like that. Do you know what I mean? So they get too comfortable. So I think that there should always be a quality control, like there should have been at Sky. When Eddie started, it was great, but towards that, when he got near to the zone, that last 28, 29 months were just pure garbage, wasn't it? It was like,
Yeah.
and he was playing both sides, wasn't it? And I
But
think
it's
what he
even,
did there were bad. What Eddie did there were bad.
I agree that wasn't good, and it was bad for the fans. And I'd say the same thing with Ben Shalom and Sky. It seems like after initial,
Did well.
everybody was patting in the back, and it's kind of dropped off. But again, the problem in boxing is these TV networks sign exclusive deals with promoters to air the shows, and then there's limited quality control because they say we need to have 10 shows a year, but they don't really, at that point, they don't really care as long as they can air the shows. And the promoters are there, tail kind of wagging the dog rather than somebody saying, hey, you know what? If you have someone like, let's say, Johnny Wish and some of these other guys at Sky at the time when Matchroom was there, half the shows and the headliners wouldn't be put on.
Well, he's there now, isn't he, Johnny Wishausen?
Sorry?
He's there now, isn't he? Johnny Wishausen.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. But he didn't have the same role when Eddie was there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
So he would have been somebody that would have looked at these cards and said, you know what, we can't put this on. It's not a good card. Whereas, Adam Smith and Johnny Nelson and others are like, yeah, it's a good card.
Yeah, nodding dogs. And that's another thing which brings me to Adam Smith. When he was there, he was doing other things for Matchroom and stuff like that, like darts and whatnot. Isn't that a conflict of interest if he's employed by Sky, Rico, and he's doing other things to earn financial gain for Matchroom? Does that mean he's being softened up?
I don't know. I mean, I think they probably...
Rico, don't sit on fence. You sound like Coogan.
No, I mean, look, I think he's probably out of a home at the moment. And he's a familiar face. And they know also, in terms of commentary, he'll hype up the fight. It doesn't matter what gets put on.
What, like a cacophony of noise? All that. Welcome to the Blue Ribbon Division. There's the respect.
We have left off.
We have AJ Liftoff. He'd like that, wouldn't he? Being, oh,
he would.
AJ. He'd love that one, wouldn't you, Beanie? What do you think will happen then with Sky and Ben Shalom? Do you think they'll just run his deal out and he'll be gone?
Well, they probably still want some form of boxing and they still have a stable. So whether they bring someone else in to work with him, there's not a huge amount of promoters knocking about. So that's the other thing. I mean, from what I hear in boxing from people is that a lot of people actually like Ben Shalom. They think that he's a nice guy. So I think he hasn't put people's noses out of joint, but what they need to see is better match, better kind of matchmaking where there's competitive fights. And I think the biggest thing in Sky at the moment is the opponents are often not very well known. So what they need to get is they need to get somebody in that can help to actually bring international stars to fight against British fighters.
Yeah. Natasha Jonas. She looks like she's parked up, doesn't she, at Sky? What's going on there?
I thought she's fighting
Kayla May.
Yeah.
Well, they're saying it's close, but I'm hearing that they're offering January, but January is not a good month, is it?
No, and if you announce if it's January, you're probably announcing it around now, right? Because otherwise 5-6 weeks before the fight.
Yeah. What did you think to Denzel Bentley's loss against Heaney?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but Heaney's I think Heaney's probably better than we thought he was. Also, Bentley's had quite a few hard fights back to back, so that might have taken something out of him. But I just hope Denzel continues fighting hard and fighting against good opponents, and also they give him the opportunity to fight against good opponents. They don't just put him back in with journeymen and others, because he's one of the more entertaining fighters that on these islands.
Yeah, yeah. How are you doing yourself, Rico? Are you training?
No, not really.
No, you're living the life. You're having it good. You're getting married, aren't you?
You don't need to tell everything here to the audience.
Sorry, mate. Cut that out. Are you all right?
Yeah.
You all right? Do you want it cut out, yeah?
Pardon?
Got that cut out?
No, it's fine, mate. It's fine. Not that way.
So just don't tell you off.
Well, we know some of these people, some of the trolls and internet people.
They'll be wanting to go to your wedding, Rico. Won't there for some wedding cake after these on here? They've never seen a piece of cake.
I know. Well, first need to sort out a wedding and win the lottery to afford one.
Okay. Chantel Cameron against Katie Taylor. Who you got?
Yeah. I think I'll go with Chantel Cameron.
Again, yeah. I'm going to go
Yeah,
Taylor.
I think so. I think Taylor's slid a lot. The other thing there isn't really proof of this, but I do think with female boxers, you don't see as many female boxers at an older age keep their performance. Partly because older boxers, male boxers, they carry that power. So female boxing tends to be more about reflexes, endurance, and the 2-minute rounds. You kind of it's even more important.
Taylor, isn't it?
Yeah. So it suited Taylor when she was younger, but now I think if Cameron can keep up the pace, I think it's unlikely that Taylor's going to take her out. So if Cameron can keep up a high pace, I think she'll win the fight.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go Taylor on points in a robbery, and everybody's screaming for Eddie's neck.
Well, it's in Ireland, so
Who's to say that Eddie will even be there on 93 years? He'll have about 50 security with him, I can assure you.
Hey, Sky Williams, Sky Nicholson's there, so I've seen him at the weigh-in, so he'll be there.
Eddie will be loving it then if his bit of fluff's there. Did you see her interview?
No, but she doesn't say many interesting things.
She's going to fight Amanda Serrano or something. And they went, yeah. She went, yeah, that's next for me. And it was like she was cocksure about it. And I thought, you know what? I don't like you little slag. So that's what I thought. But okay. Parker Wilder. What round does he get put on Button Moon?
First or second round, it's not going to last longer than 3 rounds.
You want to go on to part 2?
Yeah, let's do that.
Part 2. Thanks for liking and subscribing, leaving a comment.